Another week and another politically charged national press club, this time featuring multi-millionaire and renewables activist Simon Holmes a court. The founder of Climate 200 has raised millions of dollars to bankroll independents running against sitting Liberal MPs. He talks a big game, but you, the voters, have a right to be sceptical. Holmes a court has raised $7 million to fund their campaigns, and thankfully, the press club put a bit of heat on the climate activist who claimed, bizarrely, he will have no influence on what the candidates do.
Given the amount of money that you have contributed to the campaigns, will you be having a say in this scenario in which major party candidates help form government with?
This goes to what I said before about the misconception, or at least I guess the lens that so many can only see politics through the eyes of a party. These candidates speak for themselves. They are truly independent and have, we have no influence in what they will do in the next, immediately following election.
Well done to the ABC's Jane Norman for asking that crucial question, because are we expected to believe that this man will have no influence over what candidates do or think? And I'm not just on a unity ticket with the ABC in my suspicion of how this pseudo-political party is dealing with the money and influence. I find myself in agreement with The Guardian's Catherine Murphy, who asked Holmes a court whether we could seriously expect him to abstain from influencing candidates and whether he was telling them what policies to adopt on the campaign trail.
Surely, if you have agreed to fund candidates to run in various electorates, knowing that it is possibly a minority government situation at the end of this election, surely Climate 200 has had discussions with these candidates about what those values mean in practice.
Thanks, Catherine. So firstly, specifics. No, it is not up to us to have specifics on these. If we start dictating specifics, then we can hardly say that these independents are independent.
And Catherine Murphy may not have been trying to put him on the spot with this question, but it demonstrated just how shallow climate change policy discussions are.
Just going to your the Climate 200's values, if I may, for a minute.
Yep.
As you've articulated one, it's a science-based approach to climate change. What does that mean? You're active in climate policy space, Simon. You have been for years.
Yep.
What's the answer to my question, which is what's a science-based approach to climate policy? What's the answer?
Yeah, I'm not sure this is the forum for it, because I don't need to signal to candidates.
When you ask these activists what exactly they want from a policy perspective, they don't have an answer. Keep it vague and superficial. And at this point, it is worth noting that the financial controller who handled Zali Steggall's $100,000 Cole family donation, the guy Zali is blaming for the mistake, is now a director at Climate 200. Here's our very own Tom Connell putting the torch on Holmes a court on this very point.
I'm going to ask about the $100,000 cheque. Zali Steggall effectively blamed the accountant, Damien Hodgkinson. Is he still a director at Climate 200? Should he stay on in that role, or will he stay on in that role? And what does it say about struggling to manage a $100,000 cheque when you're talking about disclosing $1,000 donations?
Yeah, so I completely reject the characterisation of failing to manage. Look, Zali fronted the media about this yesterday. This is an issue that was identified more than a year ago and resolved to the complete satisfaction of the AEC.
Are you starting to see how this is really about money, power and influence, and less about saving the planet? And do you want to know why I'm really so sceptical about his promise to keep these candidates independent from his influence? His own website appears to contradict this pledge. Read the fine print of what your donation money would pay for, and Climate 200 explains that they will be involved in, quote, capacity building and tactical support to ensure community groups and their candidates have the tools, strategies and expertise needed to win. Seems like a political party to me. At least he is honest that this is what they're doing though, right?
To those in the press gallery, please enjoy the fact that these independents aren't media trained. Their instinct is to give considered, honest answers, not regurgitate to someone else's talking points.
Climate 200 is running a sophisticated strategic campaign against Conservatives, using data and funneling those analytics back to candidates to help them win seats. There is nothing illegal about it, but at least have the courage to admit what you are doing. Now, let's bring the panel back in. Evan, it seems really, really strange that Simon Holmes of Court is promising that his candidates won't be regurgitating talking points. Then why are you paying for the data and analytics to decide what talking points are if they're not going to be regurgitated? What's the point of doing that?
Exactly. A lot of what Simon Holmes of Court had to say in his speech does not pass the pub test. We saw a real animosity towards Josh Frydenberg in particular. He spent about half of his speech personally attacking Josh Frydenberg in a really bitter way. And we see his candidates literally have identical policies. You can't say they're truly independent if they've got identical policies. So it looks like a political party to me. He should just come out and say it's a political party, and it doesn't pass the pub test that he won't be having a say in what these independents do. It doesn't pass the pub test that the only place they are funding candidates is against Liberal Party and government members. If it's truly going to be independent and there is a hung parliament, he can't say with a straight face that he won't have anything to do with it, because he absolutely will.
Well said. And Caroline, when you've got Conservatives on a unity ticket with The Guardian's political editor and ABC reporters, and even they are saying, hey, there's something not quite right about what you're saying, there must be some truth behind these scepticisms.
Well, you would think so, and it's not often like you that I agree with Catherine Murphy, but backing her in there. You know, look, over the last few weeks, we've seen the National Press Club and this conga line of woke come through, preaching all sorts of revolution. And I don't think that Simon Holmes of Court, and particularly with what happened with Zali Steggall during the week, Simon Holmes of Court didn't quite, come up to proof, so to speak. And I think there would have been a lot of people scratching their heads there, because at best he was cosmetic, but at worst, he was an absolute disaster. He couldn't explain anything. There was no substance, and there was no logical rationale to anything that he was saying. Anyone who thinks these independents are independent probably need a lobotomy, because it's Get Up 2.0. They're just wrapped in teal taffeta, and that's about it.
Yeah, and the other thing that was strange as well was the inability to have a single policy in his mind on how to deal with climate change. He's been in that sector for a very long time. It should be very easy for him to suggest something. So, yeah, look, there was a lot of strange stuff. I agree. Bit of a train wreck for him.